Alright. Hey everyone, Raptor Spank here, and today we have On the Grind, the show where I cover a deck I'm playing in Ranked. So we'll break down the deck, talk about some flex spots, and go over some basic mulligans, and then we'll put it through some ranked matches and review how we do afterwards. So, what are we covering this week? This week we're going into a deck I've been playing a fair bit of lately because it's just a really fun kind of aggro combo-y deck that lets me play, well, one of my old favorite champions and some cards that go with them, and that is Zed Sivir. Kind of, again, it's kind of an aggro deck, but it also has a pretty decent size combo package with it too, but it's mostly an aggro deck. So essentially the goal here is to kill your opponent as quickly as possible. The combo revolves around Flurry of Fist and a number of good quick attack units that we have, or even we have ways to give quick attack to units that normally wouldn't have it, that can be very, very powerful when they get Flurry of Fist to get double attack, but essentially we can just run down our opponent too and kill them fairly quickly, but we do have this crazy out-of-nowhere kill our opponent by giving double attack to something huge and hitting for a ton of damage. So that's another option that we have, and basically that's the gist of it. So looking at the champion package, start with 3 copies of Zed. The big reason here is that Zed is and has for a long time been one of the most aggressive 3-drop champions you can have, because when he attacks he creates a copy that's the same size as him, so that very easily does 6 to 8 damage, or threatens 6 to 8 damage in a single turn, and on as early as turn 3 that's pretty hard for our opponent to deal with. So it can force a lot of damage through, but then if he actually hits with both, or hits with both over the period of 2 different attack steps, he'll level up, and then he passes his keywords onto his shadow as well, which typically isn't hugely relevant, but we do have a number of ways to give him Overwhelm, and now he'll give quick attack to his shadow. So if we have Flurry Fists, we can always give him double attack and pass on to his shadow. Or if we're kind of worried about how our opponent might handle things, we can kind of just attack with both. And now the shadow will also have quick attack, so if he doesn't block the shadow, we can then give that double attack on its own and kill our opponent out of nowhere as well. So there are some very relevant things to leveled up Zed and passing its keywords on to the other shadow, in the sense that we do also have Ghost, but we'll talk about that in the spell package. But all in all, he's just a really aggressive champion. You're almost never going to use his champion spell, but that's also there if there's something that has some value to picking up and playing again, like Inspiring Mentor, Treasure Seeker, or Rockhopper kind of does too, Merciless Hunter can be, or I suppose you could also use it to pick up like a Sivir or a Ruin Runner just to give it Spell Shield again if that's been stripped, but the number of times you'll do something like that are very, very slim. Like 99% of the time you'll never cast this champion spell because you'd rather keep that extra Zed copy in hand. Then our other champion is 3 copies of Sivir, because what our deck does is it deals a ton of damage very quickly, so we level up Sivir very easily, and she already has quick attack, which I mentioned the Flurry of Fists. Obviously it synergizes well with her because it can give her double attack, but once she's leveled up, she'll pass her keywords onto all of your other units, so she can very easily give double attack to everything that you have. And she has Spell Shield, so it's kind of hard to remove her or interact with her as well, so if we can find a way to give her something like Overwhelm, then it's basically just game over for our opponent. So she's insanely powerful in the deck, very easy to level her up, and she synergizes with the combo we already have built in, so it's just all sorts of great stuff we get out of her. Her champion spell as well, almost never going to cast it, but certainly you can use it as a removal spell in the right kind of thing, or just use it to fast level your Sivir up, but 9 out of 10 times you're not going to use it, so that's same as the Zed in that case. As for the Landmark package, we do have 2 copies of Preservarium, just because it's a very effective card draw spell for us. It comes down very early on turn 2, and it draws us 2 cards over the course of its lifetime, essentially, because you play it and draw a card, and then once it ticks down, it draws you a card. So it's just a nice little cheap card draw spell to keep us digging through to our combo pieces, and we do have a decent number of spells, so it can kind of help make sure that we draw units as well to use those spells on. So it's a solid enough include, but not important enough to run 3 full copies of it. Then, as for the follower package, we do start with 2 copies of Inspiring Mentor. This is how Zed can threaten 8 damage on turn 3, is because you can go turn 1 Inspiring Mentor, and then turn 3 Zed, and this will have buffed him already. You can also buff things like Sivir or Rune Runner to just kill your opponent even quicker, and it's not even that bad to play like Inspiring Mentor, buff Young Witch, and then Young Witch, and now she's actually doing a decent bit of damage through with Elusive, so that's pretty solid. You can pump Merciless Hunter as well because she already has Fearsome. So we have a number of good things for Inspiring Mentor to pump, which is why we're running him. But obviously he's really bad if you're empty-handed, and it's a very weak unit on his own. So it's not a super powerful unit, but does do a lot of good things for our deck. One of our kind of better one-drops is the 3 copies of Treasure Seeker because it has the same stat line as Inspiring Mentor, but it comes with this free spell that gives us a 5/2 Ephemeral, which is a ton of damage to do, and is really helpful for leveling up our Sivir. And when we have a number of things like Rock Hopper and Merciless Hunter to give vulnerable, you can kind of use this as like pseudo removal to kill their best unit as well. And then just in general too, if they don't develop a board, it's just a ton of damage to hit your opponent with, so you can kill them very quickly if they're not careful. And you can always do like Treasure Seeker, bank the 2 mana, then turn 3, play some aggressive 3-drop like Merciless Hunter or Zed, and then also Waking Sands on top of that to deal a ton of damage to your opponent. So a lot of good things we get out of Treasure Seeker. We also have 3 copies of Rock Hopper because he's another really aggressive unit. 3/1 for 2. Yeah, he's easy to kill, but if they don't block, Rock Hopper's going to do a ton of damage, and more importantly, it comes with that landmark that is going to essentially give vulnerable to our opponent's stuff so that we can really burn it down, kill it quick. So really solid include in the deck as well. Nice way to just kind of arrange blocks how we want, or if they only put 1 blocker out after Rock Hopper, then you can kind of guarantee a leveled up Zed on turn 3, which is insanely powerful. And then we do have those 3 copies of Young Witch I mentioned. This is kind of here for a number of things. We have stuff like Treasure Seeker, Inspiring Mentor, and Rock Hopper, all of whom die very easily, so giving them quick attack means that they're going to pretty much kill anything that blocks them without dying themselves, so suddenly they become a way more aggressive threat. And then the big reason for including Young Witch is the fact that she synergizes with Flurry of Fists by giving quick attack to anything else. So if we swing with her, particularly swing with, say, Rune Runner and give it quick attack, then your opponent declares blocks. You can Flurry of Fist on the Rune Runner, and now it's got double attack and Overwhelm and Spell Shield, and it becomes a massive threat on its own. So really solid include in the deck that kind of helps to push our win conditions. So that's just an easy 3 of for me. And then 3 copies of Merciless Hunter as well. It's another aggressive unit. It comes down on turn 3 and threatens 4 damage, which is a lot for the cost. And I mean, it's got 3 health, so it's not that easy to kill. And again, with Fearsome, it does have a sort of kind of evasion to force that damage through as well. So really solid include even before you think about the fact that it can get vulnerable to something, which again can help you level up your Zed or make sure that your double attackers can't be blocked. So much value we can get out of Merciless Hunter. So another easy 3 of. We also have 1 of Profiteer in the deck. The big reason for this is, while it isn't an extremely aggressive body, a 5/3 for 4 is really good. The important part is it comes with a fleeting Lucky Find in hand, which can essentially pump or boost one of our units. The big reason we're running it is we're hoping that it gives Overwhelm to someone like a Sivir or a Zed that we can give double attack to, so it has double attack and Overwhelm. Or we're looking to give quick attack to something that doesn't normally have it so that we can put Flurry of Fist on that unit as well. So those are the big things. You can also find a spell shield off of it potentially to protect your stuff, or Challenger to kind of kill things that you want, that sort of thing. But the big things we're looking for are the Overwhelm or the quick attack. So that's the big reason we're running the 1 of. And then finally, 3 copies of Rune Runner, one of the best Shurima units all time because it has Overwhelm, it has Spell Shield, so it's hard for your opponent to deal with, and it's 6 power for 5, so that's nice cost efficiency. And again, if you combine this with something like a Young Witch to give it quick attack and then Flurry of Fists, this is going to hit like an absolute truck. So really good unit. Definitely worth the include, and just one of our best win conditions as well. Now, looking at the spell package, I do have one copy of Ghost here because there's a number of great ways we can use this. You can use it with just some powerful unit, like even a Profiteer, just to finish off your opponent. But the big reason we're running it is Ghost on Zed. If he's leveled up, this will give Ghost to his token as well, so that's a ton of damage coming at your opponent in the air. Or you can give it to Sivir, which can either get Sivir to hit with a double attack on her or something like that, because she has quick attacks. You can Flurry of Fist Ghost, and now it's a huge threat that's hard for your opponent to block. But more importantly, if you level up Sivir, she's going to give elusive to all of your units, and you can just alpha strike your opponent that way as well. And then you can even just use it on stuff like Ruin Runner just to force extra damage through. So it's a nice one of, but not something we necessarily want to have a ton of copies of, because there are a lot of elusives in the meta right now, so it's not always going to be that effectively. Whereas we do have 3 copies of the Absolver, because this is going to be a lot more useful to us, or more often useful to us, because it's a 2-mana burst spell that gives +2/+1, so we can do that at burst after our opponent has declared their blocks or what they're doing, so they can't really prepare for it. It's not focused, so we don't have to use it before attacking. And the most important thing is if we've leveled up a champion, which is very easy for us to do because Zed does level up fairly quickly if your opponent can't kill him. And more importantly, Sivir can often level up the turn we play her, but it'll give another copy, which gives another +2/+1, and gives Overwhelm, which that's the big thing. We can give Overwhelm to our Sivir using the Absolver, and then give her double attack, so she hits for a ton of damage and usually just kills your opponent out of nowhere. So that's the big reason we're running 3 copies of it. Also running 3 copies of Twin Discipline, because this is a really cheap pump spell that can either save a unit or kill something, so really, really solid. It's one of our best answers to more controlling matchups, because we can play something turn 1, then bank turn 2, and then turn 3 is Zed, and even if they do some like Avalanche, Mystic Shot, whatever, we can Twin Discipline to give him +3 health, and then your opponent didn't kill him, and now he's free to swing, and if they kind of went for the kill instead of playing a unit, then the Zed's probably going to hit them and level up, and things are really, really good for you. So lots of good value we can get there, but you can also pump the power to just kill your opponent out of nowhere if they weren't prepared for that extra 3 damage. Then, as I mentioned, 3 copies of Flurry of Fist. This is the big combo with our deck. We have a lot of quick attackers, or ways to give quick attack, so we have a lot of ways to make this a double attack. And even I've won some games just by using it for the +1 damage. As unbelievable as that may be, there are definitely times that that's actually been relevant enough. But the big idea here is just to use it on our quick attackers to give them double attack, so we hit for a ton of damage. Then we have 2 copies of Concussive Palm as well. This is kind of our more control aspect card in the deck, but essentially just stuns something and gives us a new unit. So that's kind of both really, really good things for us. And if our opponent's kind of all in on one blocker, we can always Concussive Palm it to prevent them from blocking. But the big idea here is just to stun something we can't deal with or is going to kill us first, and then that should help slow them down so that we are the faster deck. And again, it does also come with a unit, which is really, really good. And finally, 2 copies of Spirit's Refuge to also help against other aggressive decks. This can give us, a ton of lifesteal. If you use it with a double attacker, it can full heal you out of nowhere, although usually with a double attack, you're killing your opponent. But more often than not, you'll just use this with one of our just normally large creatures, like Sivir with her 5 or more power, or Ruin Runner with its 6 power, Profiteer with its 5 power. Any of those are really, really good for gaining us a ton of life and kind of making sure that we do beat other burn decks to the punch, essentially. So as for some flex spots that we can go with, looking at some units, I've seen some people run Bakai Reaper, which is kind of weird, but we do have a lot of good quick attackers, as mentioned, which usually your opponent is going to want to block them because they'll do a ton of damage if they don't block, and if they don't block Zed, he's going to level up and become way more of a problem, so they're often going to block it and just chump with their creatures. So we'll actually get Slay triggers a decent bit to actually make Bakai Reaper kind of big, and since it has Fearsome, it can actually be a threat in and of itself as well. So there's definitely an argument for running it, but personally I prefer Inspiring Mentor over it, and Treasure Seeker is just way too good for the deck, but it's definitely something you could consider. I've also seen some people running Shadow Assassin. It's definitely questionable, but Elusive does kind of make it a threat on its own. We do still see a decent bit of Elusives in the meta, but it can kind of be a threat. And you could replace, say, Preservarium with this to still have card draw, but also a little more bodies on the board as well. But not something I'm personally running because it's just way too easy to kill Shadow Assassin, and it's only 2 power, so it's not a huge threat on its own without boost to it. But it is something worth running. And then finally, one of the better units to replace as well is you can replace that 1 of Profiteer with a 1 of Fey Guide, because then essentially you're losing the possibility of getting Overwhelm, which is going to be good into pretty much any matchup, or good into most matchups, whereas Elusives is only going to be good when your opponent doesn't have Elusives, but you're losing that potential at Overwhelm, or a quick attack as well, but you're getting a guaranteed elusive, so you're going to get way more consistency. And again, elusive is going to work against a lot of decks, so this is a really, really powerful one of to include that's going to give you a little more consistency, but a little less power. So that's one to consider as well. As for some spells, a lot of people are running Shapestone. I'm a little bit questionable on it myself. I'm not sure it's going to give as much value. We do have 5 landmarks in the deck. It makes a lot more sense, too, if you throw some Akshans in there as well. But we do have 5 landmarks between the Preservariums and the Rockhoppers. But I kind of prefer having things like the Absolver that's going to give me Overwhelm, or Twin Disciplines, which can really survive through burn spells a lot easier than that 1 extra health. So while Shapestone is really cheap for the amount of power it gives, Twin Disciplines only cost 1 more, and it's a little more versatile. So I'm personally not running Shapestone, but there is a lot of argument to going that route. And then Deny is also fairly decent to consider, because we're starting to see a little more Freljord decks with access to things like Avalanche and other board wipe kind of effects. So Deny is really good for that, as well as just catching some other random powerful spells. So definitely something worth considering, but I just don't think it carries enough weight right now for me to put it in. And then one of the other bigger things to consider as well is that you can replace Concussive Palm with Will of Ionia instead. This kind of, you lose the body on the board, but Will of Ionia is like just as effective as Concussive Palm, or even better for preventing your opponent from hitting you. And it has the added benefit of you can always use it to save your own unit as well. It's very expensive to do that, but it can do both of those things, which makes it a little more versatile than Concussive Palm, but again, it doesn't come with that 3-2, which can be a bit problematic sometimes. But it's certainly something worth considering if you prefer that route. As for some basic mulligans, you're usually going to want to look to curve out really well. So you're looking for a solid 1-drop and a solid 3-drop. And depending on the matchup, you may want to look for like a perfect curve out where you're like 1-drop, 2-drop, 3-drop, because that can be really, really powerful if you say go like Inspiring Mentor, Young Witch into Zed. That's super aggressive against, say, like another aggro deck that's not going to have much removal, because you can always go swing with a Zed and then swing with Young Witch, giving quick attack to Inspiring Mentor, and now none of your things are at risk, and your opponent is being threatened for a ton of damage. So that's good in the matchups where you're looking to race. But if you're expecting your opponent to have answers, things like Mystic Shot or any other kind of damage-based removal, Avalanche is another good one, or the 3-mana deal 1 to everything, then you're usually going to be better off kind of going 1-drop, bank the 2 mana, then play your best 3-drop, and then you can always use like a Twin Disciplines or something to keep that alive. So against decks like that, you don't even necessarily need the 1-drop, although it is usually good into especially the more controlling decks. But if you keep like Zed Twin Disciplines, that's going to be really good against those decks, because a lot of them, like especially Freljord, is going to just rely on their Avalanche to kill your unit or kill your Zed, and they're not really going to develop a board themselves. So they're just going to be like, yeah, I'll just Avalanche kill your Zed, and then you go Twin Disciplines, keep them alive, and now you're almost guaranteed to level them up by swinging, which is going to become a real problem for your opponent very quickly. And most Freljord decks, too, if they did play any units, the Avalanche will kill their units without killing your Zed. So that's really solid into those kind of matchups. Against other hard control decks, you are going to look to just be as aggressive as possible, but you can kind of survive through a lot of removal that isn't Shadow Isles, like guaranteed removal, like Vengeance and Ruination, but those are pretty rare right now. So most removal you're going to be seeing is damage based, so you can kind of use Twin Disciplines and stuff like that to play around it. And if you're really expecting them to not develop much of a board, Flurry of Fists is going to be incredibly powerful for them. And also, too, Flurry of Fists, I would generally mulligan, but if you do have a hand where you have this really aggressive start, like 1-drop, 2-drop, 3-drop, and the 3-drop is like a Zed, or you have some other quick attacker, or way to give quick attack, keeping a Flurry of Fists in that opener is perfectly fine, as you already have the good curve, so you can afford to be a little greedy keeping something like that as well. I'm usually going to mulligan a Ruin Runner, but if I am expecting it to be kind of a control deck, or like a slow kind of grind out game, I will keep a Ruin Runner because of that spell shield added protection. Same for Sivir as well. I'll keep Zed into pretty much any hand, because if your opponent has to deal with your Zed, that's still kind of good for you that you're forcing them onto the back foot like that. So that's kind of how I consider the mulligans for the deck. Now, if you like the deck, there is a deck link and a deck code in the description below, and let's jump straight into Ranked and see how we do. Okay, interesting. Haven't played against the Talia Lissandra combo deck in a little bit. We will see how this goes. A lot of our stuff dies to Avalanche, so that's a little bit concerning. Flurry of Fist does not keep Zed alive. Ruin Runner is actually good into this deck. I think we're looking to be aggressive. So, that's not great. Okay, that makes it a little bit better. He's still set up for a really good Avalanche on turn 3, which is slightly concerning. Yeah, we're gonna Rock Hopper. Do we run out this Zed, which will most certainly kill it? No, we play Merciless Hunter. Because this survives an Avalanche. Okay. Wow, we're hitting him for a ton. On the next turn, anyways. I think we just open Swing, right? I don't think... Well, we can... Actually, you know what? We can play more things. Yeah, we can play more things. Because he can't completely board wipe us. So we're really punished if he avalanches. Maybe we should have just Zedded with Absolver up, maybe? That probably was our better play. See if he has the 1 damage to everything. Yep. Okay. Maybe it would have been better to play Zed, but if he has Avalanche, we get even more punished than that. We'd definitely rather bank the mana at this point. Ooh, I like that. That's very helpful. Drakthorn Inquisitor is kind of bad for us.
I will weave my own path.
That can be bad for us, but that's not super bad. Do I Ruin Runner right now, or do I play Zed first? I think we Ruin Runner.
Seen tombs, towns, and everything in between.
Okay. Now we play Zed.
Do not fear the shrouded path.
Because we have a ton of mana to boost him. If necessary. And we can potentially level him up. Okay. I mean, that's not going to work. I'll tell you that right now. That is not going to work. Do I want to do this and kill her? I think that's our best play. Because that, in theory, levels up our Zed. And kills his Talia, which is good.
Only the worthy survive.
Now it's just a question of can we close out the game. Because these are coming eventually, and that will be very hard to kill him through. Okay, they're coming now. Alright. Well, we're in very bad shape now. How likely am I to just combo kill my opponent? Not super likely. Okay, that has us very dead. So block like this, block like this. Block like this, and now we're dead. Yeah, that's game. Unfortunate. My opponent had it in the right order, but yep. Oh well. Very, very, very close. Maybe if he didn't have Avalanche and we played that Zed, that we could have killed him, but it was so risky. We made the right play, but unfortunately didn't get there this time around. On to the next. Interesting. TF Gangplank. So this is definitely going to be lots of powder kegs, is going to be my guess. I mean, it's tempting to keep the Twin Disciplines, actually, but I think this is a nice aggressive package for us to keep, and I don't think we want to keep the Twin Disciplines, even though it could be really good. Ooh, rewarded. I mean, I'll trade this with whatever he plays. Or, it's actually possible for this to be a parlay deck that kills this. Okay, well. I mean, we'll swing into that. That's a happy trade for us. And then we go Young Witch Zed. Very possible for Zed to die next turn, but I think we're willing to trade with that, right? Yeah.
Got a lizard and a shovel.
Yeah, I'm willing to trade into that. Okay. I mean, that could be bad for us. We have a lot of good cards for my opponent to grab. I think we are still playing Zed here.
I am the blade in the darkness.
It's gonna be... Well, no, he's got Piltover. There's a good chance he just missed 6 shots. But it's still our better play than going for the Merciless Hunter plan. I feel like he doesn't have Mystic Shot, because I feel like if he did, he was definitely supposed to kill before the attack. Ghost? Okay. Oh, that was my Ghost! What a good pull for him! But we did just level up our Zed because of that, so... debatable if that was worth it, but... That's a 1-of, I'm pretty sure. Well, good for him, man. That's sweet. Not for me, but that is sweet. Ooh, Concussive Palm's really good.
I'm not greedy.
I mean, Sivir is good here. So, I think we do play her. We'll take the hit. Oh, so he is mostly Bilgewater, so he should have a hard time removing her stuff. Haha, okay. Yeah, that's fine. Hilarious timing, but... that's really sick. I can't level her up this turn, though. Okay. So do I Merciless Hunter? Yeah, let's Merciless Hunter first, because we can do Waking Sands here for even more damage. We're going for a sweet Ruin Runner leveled up Sivir turn. Okay, Powder Keg, that is scary. Yeah, I think this is still the correct play, to go Walking Sands. The question is, what does he have? This dies to make it rain, so obviously, if he gets lucky like that, we get a bit punished, but... That's unfortunate, because we really wanted that to help level up our Sivir. I think I'm fine taking the trade here. So, what we're going for this next turn is probably Concussive Palm, but if he doesn't play a big enough threat, we can go Rune Runner. Okay, so drawing a bunch of cards from my deck, and they're cheaper. Oh, right, Absolver actually works. Is this worth it, or do I just take the damage? I mean, he already triggered Plunder on me. Let's put a bunch of stuff on the board. Okay, so he has like Monster Harpoon or something. Okay, yeah. Wasn't much we could do about that regardless. So now we're just gonna play Ruin Runner next turn.
Out here, you're moving or you're dead.
Never lost a fair game.
Is it worth it to play Absolver just to keep the one thing alive? Don't think the answer is yes.
Who says I don't share?
Saw that a mile away.
Okay. So we're just gonna go like that. Okay. So he has... Now 4 of these cards are mine. And they're not champions. Inadvertently, my opponent's actually drawing me towards my champions, which is kind of sweet. Maybe I should have played Treasure Seeker there.
You'll soon understand
Okay.
my methods. Yeah, you don't want to cross me.
Go get the shiny.
Okay.
Go.
Yeah.
Arda's gonna make a meal of them. This way. Go.
Heavy pockets, huh?
Do I care? Am I willing to take that kind of damage to have a better board state going into the next turn? You know, I don't think the better board state actually helps me much. So I think we block that.
It's a trap. Sun's beneath
Okay.
and wind's behind me.
What do we draw? Another Ruin Runner. That is pretty sweet.
Sand and what is it for you?
Do we try to keep that alive? Is it worth it? I don't think it is. I mean, it could be, though. Okay, that's fine.
Scared of a fair fight?
Well, that's presenting lethal.
Out of my way.
Well, that's presenting lethal. There we go. Nice. Alright, he didn't have another... Well, I guess he couldn't have another Absolver, because we had 2 of ours, right? I think? Or am I thinking the last game? I can't remember, but yeah. My opponent drew very well there, but we still managed to get there, so nice. We'll take it. On to the next. Okay, Lurker Aggro. Not sure how this matchup goes for us. I suppose we're looking to go unit dense, so we can block early. That does kind of work. I also do like the idea of Twin Disciplines. And the Absolver works for late game, but we did say unit dense. So I'm going to keep these 2 for sure, and then I guess we're going to try Twin Disciplines because it gives us a chance of blocking with Zed. Not that that's a particularly great strategy for us, but... Ooh. Treasure Seeker is not something we expected. Okay, well, we're gonna Rock Hopper and then just leave it to block. And then next turn we play Zed. We might just go Zed Sivir, just keep swinging with a quick attack. Hopefully my opponent doesn't have a Rock Hopper, because we definitely don't want either of these to have vulnerable. Okay, so he's putting something on top, probably a Pike. I think we're willing to trade here.
Run you over.
So he's lurked once, so Pike is what? He's gonna be a 3 power now? Cause like worst case scenario, that's a Pike that he put on top. Okay, so we have to assume that it's something like a Pike. So the best play here is actually just to swing with Zed and go for the level up, because then we can use Twin Disciplines to keep him alive through a Pike. Okay. Wonderful.
Embrace the shadow.
That skin is so sick. Maybe we go Rockhopper next, rather than Sivir. Like, I want to play Sivir here, but Rockhopper allows me to bank mana. I mean, I can block, which is kind of the point of having... Well... We'll take the 4, and then we'll play Rockhopper. And now we have a blocker for next turn. Okay. That's not that bad. Okay, so I'm starting to think he did not have a Pike, which is good. How lethal can Zed be? I think we can actually build a very lethal Zed. I mean, how good is Sivir here? Not particularly. Although I could just go Rune Runner lethal. That also works. Right? Oh wait, hang on. So I could do like 3, 6, that's not quite lethal. So it'd have to be Zed for it to be lethal. Okay. Well, then we'll play Sivir to block. And if he's willing to trade his whole board into us, we're fine with that. Okay. So he's offering trading the whole board. Okay. Waking Sands. Alright. This is scary. This is a very scary attack. So lurkers right now are plus bunch. Okay. So we go like that. So that's a bunch. Okay. That's a little scary. That can definitely mess with our plan if he's got the Bone Skewer.
Do not fear the shrouded path.
So... That's so low.
They won't suffer long.
Alright. Does he have it? So that is a 10 power, so we can't actually survive through that. Yeah, so that's game. My opponent ran hot. So, unfortunate. Not typically how that should go, but my opponent did draw perfectly, so unfortunately they had us there. But, yep. Oh well. On to the next. Okay, Shen J4. Well, if we get an aggressive hand, which we have yet to get a really good aggressive hand. That one was terrible. Inspiring Mentor on Zed, not bad, especially since we can go like turn 1 Inspiring, turn 3 Zed, and have banked Twin Discipline. So this hand's actually, this is alright.
My training is unconventional.
Okay, so we're gonna get a free 2 damage in.
Tea or two?
Ghost could be really good with this Zed. Doesn't matter what he's playing. Banking the mana. Sivir is actually really good.
Strength and grace, beauty in the play.
Yes.
Without a sound.
That's debatable. That's very debatable. But that's fine. Okay. Yeah, that's fine. That I'm not worried about. Do we play Sivir first? I think we do, actually.
Nothing's lost. It's just waiting to be.
Because it's going to be very hard for my opponent to punish a Sivir this turn. Whereas it will be kind of easy for them to punish the Zed. Because even like a sharp sight won't kill this Sivir. That's very brave of him if he's doing what I think he is. Okay. Right now he loses his whole board. Okay, and I keep everything. Perfect. Now, that was nice because it prevented, like for him, because it prevented Sivir from hitting, which is really, really good for him. Well, that would have been so good if I could have leveled her up.
Watch all you want. Act.
Yeah, we'd rather play to bank. Now we can ruin runner if we'd like, which we would.
Sand and trouble far as the eye can see.
That lance is gonna be a hell of a payday.
I don't know that it's worth playing Ghost yet. That's the problem we have here. Maybe we just pass. That was a weird one.
Forced equilibrium.
Brave and dumb.
I'll take the 6.
Balance favors you.
Yeah, I mean, I'm okay with that.
Out here, you're moving or you're dead.
I mean, that's getting us... Well, it doesn't get us closer to leveling up Sivir, but we're getting there. We definitely want to keep this Twin Disciplines open. The question is whether we play
Time is
Preservarium.
money.
I think if he passes right now, we take that. That's weird. That's very weird. I think we take the hit. Okay, now we just open swing. That much I am very confident of.
There is no dispute. Understood. There is no dispute.
Well, that has you dead.
Leave this place.
Do we absolve her? So this is 12 minus 4.
Who dares
So that's 8
defy my
damage.
will?
I mean, it's possible for us to kill my opponent. That kills most of his stuff.
This pay by the hour.
I think we're gonna go for this.
I go where the trouble is. It's never too far.
Very debatable, because we could have gone for the kill there, but with that much mana open, it is fairly unlikely to work. I can play another Rune Runner, which is pretty sweet. Okay, it's not that scary. Well, let's play the Rune Runner.
Chase what you want without mercy.
So that's going to be 8 damage. So we can live through it, but it's going to cost us everything to do that, which is probably not worth it. So I think that was fine for us to take that hit. We just can't take another hit from him, especially not a hit with Overwhelm. If he has anything that's going to do that to us, we can't let that happen.
Nature blesses her followers.
We each defend our brethren.
Okay, like that.
Our wills align.
Well, we're obviously going to block here.
Blesses her followers.
So we block like that. We block like this. As much as I want to kill the Shen, I think
Why, hello
we'd
there.
rather lose that.
We
Yeah, that's fine.
realm.
Nature blesses her followers.
That we aren't even remotely concerned about. Okay.
Nature blesses her followers.
Let's think here. Let's do that.
Love it when they run.
You'll never destroy the Kinku.
Your father believed the same.
So I think the answer here is
Trample them! After them!
That's right. Run.
3 cards left. Spirit's Refuge is obviously the blowout card for us. That's the one that causes problems. Still has you dead. So what else you got? Because you're gonna need more than that. This plus that. Okay, so we're gonna see everything. Sharp sight, okay. Fighting. Alright. Good game. GG. Yep. Opponent very dead. Not bad, not bad. They played that really, really well and gave us quite the run for our money, but we got there in the end. On to the next. Alright, interesting. So this is probably peak control would be my guess. So it's going to be like ramp cards and control aspects. Well, Rockhopper into Merciless Hunter is pretty aggressive. Spirit's Refuge is tempting to deal with like Avalanche, which I think it's a very real threat. Them having Avalanche. Alright, so we'll go Inspiring Mentor into... You know what? We're gonna go Young Witch over Rockhopper here, even though it's significantly less damage. But if he goes like the 3 mana... Yeah, if he did the 3 mana 1 damage to everything, that would be very punishing for us. And this obviously still has this advantage. Like, we play Rockhopper and they trade, but here we didn't lose anything, which is sweet. And Crest of Insight is only this round. Yeah, I mean, I think we play this.
Make a meal of 'em.
And if he avalanches, whatever. Yeah, we don't really want to play her next turn. Alright. Yeah, we kind of saw that coming, but this is still the better play, because he can't kill this turn. So now I can go Rockhopper Twin Disciplines, if he, like, avalanches again.
Gonna catch the sky.
Ooh. Well, that was nice. Okay. Heal and gain an extra mana crystal, so now he's up to 6 mana next turn? Yeah. Oh, I like that. Okay. I think we play that.
We love it when they run.
So that's 7. Well, I'll play Treasure Seeker.
Gently, gently. Aha!
So in theory, this is lethal. In theory. In actuality, probably not. Okay. I think we can play her.
They told me to keep this one, but I like you.
Okay, yep. Good chance they were dead there, depending on what they had, but with Twin Disciplines in hand, and also if that happened to hit Quick Attack, my opponent was very dead. So, yeah, sweet game. We will take that. Weird deck by my opponent, and they did have the Avalanche, but yeah, that went very well for us. We will absolutely take that. Alright, so how do we do in our matches? Well, in the video we went 3-2, so that's a decent record, but in total with the deck I have gone 8-3, so those are 2 of only the 3 losses I've had with the deck, which brings us to a total of 73% win rate. Played against a number of good decks there, although we did have a couple weird ones with like the TFGP one. I haven't seen that before, although admittedly I played a lot more labs recently, so I'm a little bit out of focus on the meta a bit. But then the Aurelion Soul Trinimir is probably a bit more of a weird fringe deck. But we did play Lissandra Talia, which is a big deck, Shen Jarvan, and also Lurk Aggro, which was kind of a big deck. Shen Jarvan I've actually played twice with the deck, won both times. I've also played LeBlanc Sivir with the deck, and Akshan Sivir that were, you know, not a part of the video, but previously, and those both went very well for us. The losses have been to, obviously, Lissandra Talia one and the Lurk Aggro, but also to Fizz Draven, which was really weird. They kind of had the nuts running for that one to work out for them, because otherwise I'd say we are very favored in the matchup, having also played the opposite side of it, because I did try Fizz Draven for a bit, so that one's kind of an outlier. And actually, if I played right, I would have won it. I just had a sequencing error that I mentioned in the last meta check that cost me that game. So realistically speaking, it should be 9-2, but this is a little closer to where I'd actually expect the win rate to be. I mean, it probably would go down a little bit if I played it a bit more and had more games, but it is a really, really solid deck that's actually fairly resilient, because so many of our threats like Sivir and Ruin Runner have that spell shield, and we do just have a lot of ways to survive through damage-based removal with things like Twin Disciplines, and even Absolver can save us through damage as well. So obviously that just kind of makes us pretty strong into a lot of decks. All in all, there's not a ton to say about the deck. It is a really, really smooth, aggro-ish, combo-y deck that has a lot of protection and just a lot of ways to kill your opponent out of nowhere, which can be very, very difficult for them to deal with. Oddly enough, we cast Flurry of Fists once in the video and won the game off it, but we never got Double Strike with Flurry of Fists, which is how a lot of my games have gone, is getting Double Strike on them. So I mean, I suppose I could have blocked a little differently, and then I would have gotten that if I blocked with something like, I guess if I blocked with the Zed and I kept the Flyer alive, in theory, then I would have been able to kill my opponent out of nowhere with the whole double attacking trampler, essentially. So maybe I could have done that in that game against Shen Jarvan, but didn't see it in any of these 5 games. I have done it quite consistently, quite a lot with this deck, so we just kind of didn't see that half of the combo. So the deck's even better when you see that, because we do have a lot of ways to make that really, really good, and even without some of the cooler combo pieces, like Profiteer getting Lucky Find to give Overwhelm to Sivir, or like the crazy, crazy games, which you can see in MetaCheck. I did have a game shown where I did have Sivir giving Overwhelm Spell Shield double attack to a bunch of things, so that is something that happens in the deck fairly consistently because of Absolver and Lucky Find. But even if you don't get it, you can just go like the 1/2 flyer plus Ruin Runner to give it quick attack, and then Flurry of Fist it, and now it already has Overwhelm, Spell Shield, double attack, and it's got 8 power, so that's 16 damage right there with quick attack. So your opponent dies before it gets to hit your unit, and you have Overwhelm, so any extra damage is going to go over, and if they have removal spell, well, you have Spell Shield, so it doesn't even matter. So there's so many ways for this deck to do really crazy powerful things, so it's easily my favorite deck to play right now. It's Ionia, it's aggressive, it's everything I love in a deck. It is Zed being good and competitive again, which I have missed him dearly for a long time, so really awesome way to use that sweet Cosmic Zed skin and just get all those mastery points he deserves from all the games I played on him way back in beta, and I play him every single season when I play IF Elusive, so I've really been enjoying getting to play Zed again. I know this deck is kind of rough for the meta because it is so consistent and so ridiculously powerful, but it's a really fun deck. I'm definitely enjoying it, and I'm definitely going to play more of it, so I do highly recommend it if it's the kind of gameplay that you like to see in a deck, because it is aggressive, but it's also kind of a combo. So if you like either one of those kinds of strategies, this deck is going to hit that itch for both of them. So really solid deck. Highly recommend it. Definitely going to play it more myself, and I think even it was kind of undersold in the games this video compared to what my overall on it is. But if you'd like to try it out, there is a deck code and a deck link in the description as well. And if you enjoyed the video, leave a like, comment below, and subscribe for more card game related content.